teammates here on Team Card Hoarder. Both Noah and Lucas. With what I believe are, it's 60 card mirror at the very least. Maybe not exactly 75, but it's close.
Yep, some differences in the sideboard, but they both have this 1x always watching. And everything else, the Spell Queller, Selfless Spirit, Archangel Avacyn, Thraben Inspector, Reflector Mage, the Gideon Ally Zendikar, 2 Revolutionary Rebuff.
Yeah. So tell me about these tempo mirrors. I know back when Delver was the best thing in town, I played some of them. These things can be so difficult, though.
And the thing about it is you have to find a way to identify early what kind of game you're playing. Are you playing the kind of game where you need to get ahead quickly and stay ahead, or the kind of game where both players are supposed to do nothing as long as possible? You're really kind of navigating around Spell Queller. Is the game about getting ahead of Spell Queller, or is the game about doing nothing so you don't get behind Spell Queller?
Right. With Delver mirrors, oftentimes your 1-drop would determine your role. Lucas does have a 1-drop, but in this matchup it's different. It's Thraben Inspector. It's 1 power.
And if Lucas on the play can curve Thraben Inspector into Smuggler's Copter, he puts a lot of pressure on Noah.
So he has the Thraben Inspector. For Noah, it's a tap land. Swing for 1 from Lucas. Port Town showing the same land. Does he have the vehicle? He does not, but he'll play Selfless Spirit. So with 2 creatures out early, I would think Lucas is the aggressive role here.
You put some pressure on Noah to get some things onto the battlefield to start being able to block. He really wants something like a Spell Queller.
Yeah, Lucas, not respecting the mana, all goes straight for the Always Watching, and it's going to work. A bold play by Lucas. He knows there's 2 revolutionary rebuffs in the main for Noah, but he was rewarded so hard for that.
And it is just 2 rebuffs, and if this does resolve, suddenly Spell Queller's not much of a factor in combat. The Selfless Spirit trades with it now. I like the risk here.
Does it so fast. Now at this point, with a card like Always Watching on the table, this is a 1 of in each player's deck, there's no way to get that off the board for either player. It's not just the 1/1. But when you combine that with the Vigilance, it really limits Noah's game plan. I just don't feel that can Noah take the aggressive role back?
It's going to be difficult here. So the fact that Lucas's creatures get to attack and block, if blocking is even necessary, and they get to trade up on mana, Selfless Spirit suddenly just trades with Spell Queller or any kind of 2/3 like this Reflector Mage if they ended up in combat is so significant.
Thraben Inspector swings into Reflector Mage, gets checked, and Lucas, his Selfless Spirit was reflected, but that meant Noah's mana was down, and Lucas jams Gideon, Ally of Zendikar. It's going to work. Once we're at Gideon plus Always Watching, this is over.
Lucas is firmly in the driver's seat, and Noah, he had to get something off the battlefield. The Reflector Mage, it did gain him 5 life on this turn.
He couldn't do nothing. He couldn't hold up Spell Queller. That just was out.
Right.
He'll play Thraben Inspector, leaving up 3.
He doesn't have a good avenue to try to get in any damage onto the Gideon, though. There's a 2/2 and a 2/3 Thraben Inspector because of the Always Watching. The Reflector Mage could at best just trade with a 2/2.
He could hope that Lucas pluses the Gideon. I don't think that certainly is not the play. It could get stasis snared if he does. He's going to plus it. Right now, I feel like that's a misstep. This allows stasis snare, and it's going to happen.
Yeah, frequently with Gideon, you're just supposed to activate it for 0 a whole bunch of times.
Yeah, I'm not sure. What I guess I'm saying is I'm not sure this is a big misstep. So Lucas loses his Gideon. If he just sat there making knights, I don't know how Noah answers.
Right. I'm inclined to agree. Yeah, so I agree with the turn 3 Always Watching, checking Revolutionary rebuff. The check for stasis snare there was a bit aggressive.
Well, Lucas has another play here, though. Noah passed the turn on 4 mana, no land drop, and Lucas is going to end step go for Archangel Avacyn. And another stasis snare from Noah takes care of the Angel. And this is the control role I think you're talking about. Or you're talking about how the roles are really like they change in this matchup. Right. Once there's Always Watching on the board, I like what Noah's done from here.
And I think that even when you are the aggressor, the plus on the Gideon that made him vulnerable to stasis snare, Your goal isn't to end the game as quickly as possible. It's to press your advantage. That's really how you get aggressive in a matchup like this.
And now Noah will make an aggressive play of his own. For Lucas, he casts Selfless Spirit after cracking a clue. Noah makes his own Gideon, adds a knight ally to the board, and passes. He's got no defense against flyers right now, so Selfless Spirit can do a number on Gideon. It can get him down to 1. But Noah's still at 14. Selfless Spirit attacks Gideon, goes to 1. Another Selfless Spirit from Lucas Kiefer, leaving up 4. He still has 2 cards in hand. And with that always watching, Lucas just still continues to dominate combat.
So a couple allies from here do a lot for Noah.
Well, somewhat, right? They because the Thraben Inspector is a 2/3, and the Knight Ally from Lucas is a 3/3. I don't do that much. You see, for Noah, he pluses Gideon, swings for 5, then plays Smuggler's Copter.
Unfortunately, the Copter only able to trade with Selfless Spirit here.
Right. Both Selfless Spirits are swinging from Lucas. See if they're at Noah or at Gideon.
I kind of like just splitting the difference here. I don't want to just throw 6 points of damage at the Gideon.
He did put 6 at Gideon. If he doesn't do that, then Noah can defend it.
Right, Noah can defend it. Though in the previous turn he just attacked with Gideon, the 3 power still kills it on the following turn. If Noah was just making allies, I'd be more concerned about his presence on the battlefield.
Sure. Thraben Inspector crews Smuggler's Copter. It attacks. Noah draws and discards. Lucas last turn passed on 7 mana. He still has 2 cards in his hand. They are an 8th land and a Stasis Snare. Now, once you're getting to 8 lands, in this build of blue-white, is there a mana sink? Is there reach for this sort of thing?
No, there's really not a ton you can do from here. Frequently you want to just loot away those excess lands with your Smuggler's Copter. It gives you more potential things you can draw into when you Thraben Inspector crack Clue.
So Lucas, on that turn, swings with 2 Selfless Spirits. Noah flashes in Archangel Avacyn to block, but Lucas is ready with his last card. It's a Stasis Snare on Avacyn, so there are no blocks. Noah drops to 8.
And that always watching is really demonstrating its value in the mirror match
It's
here.
so good here. Not to mention Lucas has post-combat Smuggler's Copter. That's going to be a 4/4 Vigilance. Noah can't even kill that. The Knight Ally will crew Smuggler's Copter. And Lucas swings with all the flyers. Here's a Stasis Snare from Noah. This may be before attacks, so no draw and discard from Lucas. But what about the 6 power in the air? Is Noah ready to try to trade? He is. He'll crew Smuggler's Copter. He's going to try to block a Selfless Spirit. Trigger, draw and discard for Noah. Discards Revolutionary Rebuff. That doesn't seem like it's going to play much here. So Noah takes 3, goes to 5. Lucas still has 1 Selfless Spirit. And we draw back from Noah. Lucas's hand is a land and a Reflector Mage. So, Thraben Inspector and Clue Token from Noah. He has no flying blockers just yet. And he's down to 1 Stasis Snare in the deck. Draw for Lucas was Smuggler's Copter. Here's a Selfless Spirit swinging. Noah flashes in Spell Queller, trades it away. And he's just doing his best. He's trying to make his creatures, I guess, simulate removal spells here.
Yeah, being able to just trade that Spell Queller. Wasn't doing anything else. Noah's already at 5. He can't afford to just take 3 there.
But the Smuggler's Copter from Lucas is pretty big. It's going to be a 4/4 on attacks, not to mention it will loot away some of those lands. And Lucas has plenty.
He also has a Reflector Mage that he's been sitting on for a while, so if Noah had something like a Selfless Spirit, he could turn that off as a chump blocker. Ooh, and Lucas loots, and he finds a Stasis Snare off of the loot trigger.
Oof. And that could not have been more timely. An Archangel Avacyn would have blocked the Copter. It was Noah's stabilizing play, but now he's down to 1, unable to block. That Smuggler's Copter is a messed up card. It attacked into its certain death and then found the removal spell.
Speaking of messes, if you look to the top of your screen, both players,
Just a bunch of stasis snares.
they are on 4 stasis snare, so.
Smuggler's Copter from Noah, and that always watching. It's just, it's what a card. For Lucas Kiefer, he's going to start on Selfless Spirit, just in case something goes wrong here. I like it.
Okay.
Noah's going to Spell Quell it. All right.
Now Lucas finally gets to pull the trigger on this
Now
Reflector Mage.
Ugh. He reflects the Spell Queller. Yeah, Noah's going to use it to crew the Smuggler's Copter, Selfless Spirit back into play. Ugh. Good line by Lucas, holding that Reflector Mage up until the Spell Queller turn.
Yeah, there was just no relevant combat happening on the ground. You know, some players would be tempted to cast that Reflector Mage earlier, just do something with their mana, but the patience there was certainly rewarded.
Noah's going to have to chump block then with this Smuggler's Copter. Lucas looted into a Gideon as well. We may be going... Lucas is going to clean this one up. Noah has a Spell Queller still left in hand, so maybe we're not done yet. We see Selfless Spirit in play for Noah. Now we're back to Lucas's turn. Keep in mind the way that Reflector Mage works. Noah can cast Spell Queller again this turn.
Lucas picked up Selfless Spirit. He casts that. Noah is likely to just need to Reflector Mage it, and then Lucas just gets to resolve Gideon.
Sure, so we crew Smuggler's Copter. Swing both flyers. I mean, Noah just has to Spell Quell here just to stay alive. Draw and discard from Lucas. Well, it will be a 1-for-1 trade. Noah blocks both and can sack the Spirit to give Spell Queller indestructible.
Yeah, so this will eat Lucas's Selfless Spirit.
Yeah, he'll go ahead and use his ability back. So no damage this turn, but Lucas keeps drawing off these Smuggler's Copters. See his hand, another Selfless Spirit and a Gideon. Make an ally.
Come on up and sign up at the stage.
This is just, it's so hard here for Noah to turn the corner. Noah's been playing great, and I think there's been some missteps on Lucas's side this game. But when Lucas jammed the turn 3 always watching, and Noah didn't counter,
That's really the story
I asked
of
if
this
it was
game.
over at that point, and you said, you said it's going to be hard, and boy, isn't it.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that the Copter has been a 4-4 to Noah's 3-3, that it's had Vigilance, Noah's never going to have an opportunity to let's assume that Noah can stabilize, which I don't think he can do here. How does he win? Then when does he start attacking back?
Yeah, there's so much stuff on the other side of the battlefield here. Theoretically, if he can find an Avacyn and flip it, that would be one of his better lines.
Like multiple Gideon emblems, right? A bunch of gross things.
Right. It's very, very demanding for the top of his deck. Yeah. Always watching, very much demonstrating its value as a mirror breaker here. I do like the fact that they stuck to just one copy. If you start overloading on this, then you stop having as many creatures here, so it matters less.
Do you think this is probably its best matchup?
It seems likely.
Against something like Black-Green Delirium, I'm not sure how much I like that card.
Yeah, probably board it out there.
It's only one of, seems easy enough. And now swing a Smuggler's Copter from Lucas. If he did not already have this game in hand, the Spell Queller he drew almost certainly will work. Noah tries for Spell Queller, but it gets quelled. Noah is hanging on here. But I think what I keep coming back to is not can Noah hang on, it's then what? How does he win?
All these creatures on the ground, they are worth nothing. It's just way too gummed up. It's all about flyers, and Noah has had to chump with so many of his.
And we talked earlier when Lucas had the first Gideon, and he got it stasis snared. That was a misstep on Lucas's side, to be sure. But now he's playing the second Gideon correctly. And if you look at his board and the way he's playing it now, I don't know how in the world does Noah answer that.
Yeah, so while Noah's creatures on the ground don't matter, Lucas's do, because his are accumulating and Noah's at 1.
issue when you play a match against your teammate and you all play Stasis Snare. Teammates have the same sleeves sponsor. This is a... Both players are going to be counting their decks here. just throwing that out.
Yeah, that takes some cleanup there.
But game 1 goes to Lucas Kiefer, always watching, carrying him through the game. Never lets Noah turn the corner.
You see both players counting their decks.
Just immediately. All right. So I want to look at the sideboards here. Let's start over on Noah Walker's side. These are mostly the same. So we'll talk about Noah's, and then we'll say if there's any differences. So on Noah's side, he's got 3 Spell Shrivel, 2 Fragmentize, 2 Blessed Alliance, 2 Declaration in Stone, 2 Jace Unraveler of Secrets, a Linvala the Preserver, a Quarantine Field, another Always Watching. I already know that one's coming in, and a Negate.
Yeah, the Always Watching is the big find. I kind of like Quarantine Field in no small part because it's an answer to Always Watching, but it can also clear Gideons from your opponent.
Sure. Yeah, I think both players would have been fine. A 2-for-1 removal spell seems pretty good if you watch how that game played out.
Declaration in Stone seems totally reasonable in the mirror. It's not the fastest. It's likely that your opponent will be able to crack their clues.
That's what I was wondering. I like Declaration in Stone, except if my opponent always gets to crack all the clues off it. Is it good?
It's way less good. I think that might be a play-draw thing. If you're on the play, you can kind of leverage your advantage better with it.
Do you go toward Blessed Alliance instead then, maybe? That's a card. You don't get to pick what you kill, but it's mostly upside.
Yeah, so the texture at game 1, I imagine, is pretty similar most times you play this matchup, where it's mostly just flyers attacking. So these are Thraben Inspector decks, which is generally a pretty good buffer against Blessed Alliance, but given the fact that only the flyers are attacking and only the flyers matter, there's a good argument for bringing in Blessed Alliance.
And then they also have some other big options. 2 Jace Unraveler of Secrets, 1 Linval the Preserver.
The Linval is a huge flyer, and flying is kind of what it's all about. You can't spell queller it. I do kind of like Linvala. It wouldn't surprise me to see players bring Jason. It wouldn't be my first thought for the matchup. Grinding out advantage matters, but
you can't make your curve too high. You already have those Avacins, and I don't think they're going anywhere.
You need to keep pace with flyers in the early game. And if you're not doing that, then you can't defend a Planeswalker very effectively.
Now, the last thing I want to look at is a card like Fragmentize. If Quarantine Field is coming in, I guess only Noah has Quarantine Field and an extra Always Watching. So Noah can't board and Fragmentize. Lucas doesn't do anything. But assume these players know each other's lists. Can Lucas board in? He's going to have 2 Always Watchings and 1 Fragmentize.
They also are both on 4 Stasis Snare, so Fragmentize just to deal with Smuggler's Copter, Always Watching, Stasis Snare.
Oh, that's just fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, Fragmentize does seem pretty good here.
Yeah, if you can hit Snares and Copters, you're probably just, they're in.
Yeah. Knowing that your opponent's on 4 certainly helps.
Yeah, absolutely. Players going to get ready for the second game. You see just finishing up on sideboarding there. Now, this is our last open before the Season 3 Invitational, which means time is running out to get your hands on 1, 2, 3, or 10 copies of the Liam Lonergan Elf Warrior token. This is in commemoration of his Season 2 Invitational victory, a perfect 9-0 sweep in our modern top 8 with Elves. We'll, of course, see Liam Lonergan at the Players' Championship next month as he tries to take his Invitational title and become the 2016 Players' Champion. You can get these by attending any of our Opens or Classics. These will, in the 2 weeks in Atlanta, we'll still be giving these away, and they'll be shipping in all orders from StarCityGames.com. But that's going to be it, because when we get around next year to January, we're going to have a new Invitational winner, which means a new token. So head on out to Atlanta or put an order in on our store to get your hands on these while they are still being given out.
If you're a Dwinnen's Elite fan.
You only need 1 for Dwinnen's Elite.
Right.
So that one's easy.
Yeah, you play 4, right?
So you need 4?
You need 4.
You need 4. Lucas Kiefer up a game here on Noah Walker. Now, for Kiefer, he is the eldest of the Kiefer trio with a blue-white flash here. Based out of Boulder, Colorado, the whole family, part of Team Card Hoarder. He was the first one to notch a top 8 here on the SCG Tour. He has the open top 8, is looking for a win. Said could survive on a diet of Chipotle alone. I would say when I was 16, I could probably do that as well.
I did that for a good portion of my summer, and I'm not impressed, Lucas. You can do better. Surviving on a diet of McDonald's would be a lot more difficult than Chipotle.
When you're that age, you can do that too. You can.
Yeah,
just,
yeah. Like
it's out
if
of
he
control.
said that, I'd be like, all right, game recognized game. You got it.
Players trade Thraben Inspectors to start the game. No turn 2 play from Noah Walker. He does have blue mana, though, for that possible counter spell. Lucas 2 planes. I know you love the basic land game going on there.
Oh, yeah. Landbox planes plus unhinged planes.
I like, yeah.
Why aren't these white bordered? I'm a bit concerned
I like
about
the ones that have like the little like rotational symbol and then say tap to add anything to your mana pool. I like those ones.
A little 7th ed. I like 7th edition and 6th edition planes.
Third land from Noah. So Lucas, Noah cracked on end step the clue. And Noah swings in because Lucas does not have blue mana up. He does not have to respect Revolutionary Rebuff. I'm not even sure if Rebuff is in after board. That card gets dead really fast.
Yeah, if you play a more drawn-out game, it just gets really bad.
So a third land from Lucas. This one's the island. He does have Spell Queller, but Lucas is well aware of how good Always Watching is. He got to just crush Noah with it game 1. So it happens now. A swing for 2 more drops Lucas to 16.
And Lucas there was just checked for Fragmentize, didn't have it on his turn there, though he might just leave up Spell Queller anyway. He does have Queller in his hand. A Gideon from Walker there would be huge.
Noah plays a 4th land and passes. We're back to Lucas. His draw was Stasis Snare. He'll make another Thraben Inspector. Get a clue. And I like this how Lucas is playing. Both players are playing a more kind of instant speed, kind of try to get the other person around. Selfless Spirit from Noah Walker. Swings with Thraben Inspector. Yeah, so that'll still get in for 2.
Yeah, funny thing about the math here.
You can't,
when you
the double
have
block
Always
still doesn't
Watching,
work.
yeah, you just throw away a Thraben Inspector for nothing if you double block without Always Watching.
End step Stasis Snare from Lucas Kiefer. Goes for that over the clue, and he will get Selfless Spirit.
Pretty aggressive uses there that suggests that Lucas's hand is strong.
Well, at a certain point, he's at 14. He actually has to tag the flyer, doesn't he?
He does have a Spell Queller in hand that he could just try to trade with.
Okay.
Given the fact that there's Avacyn's in both deck, I would be more inclined to run that out first.
Oh, sure. You want to save the snare for the cards that really matter. Fragmentize is the play from Noah Walker. This is going to force an issue. Does Lucas want to go for Spell Queller? He lets Fragmentize work.
And with Walker still representing Gideon mana, I like the patience.
Yeah. A swing with the Inspector puts Lucas down to 12. Will Noah make another play before he passes turn?
Not a lot of reason to.
Plays a 6th land, and Lucas end step Avacyn's. That'll work. We're back to Kiefer's turn. So he manages to get his 4/4 down.
Yeah, you know, Always Watching is good, but you need something that can actually trade with Avacyn in combat.
Yeah, Avacyn hasn't Always Watching built in. She's already vigilant and large. So no 6th land for Lucas. That's going to be a miss. And one that he'll actually feel. His hand has 2 more Stasis Snares and a Spell Queller. So he'd really like the 6th land.
Right, a lot of 3s.
Jace, and now the play from Noah.
Can't Spell Queller that one.
A little too expensive. We'll see if Lucas can find something else. He will crack a clue in response. He draws Revolutionary Rebuff, but Noah's played around that one too. So it resolves.
And Lucas only has 1 blue mana, so even though Spell Queller plus Rebuff could theoretically be 1 turn cycle, he doesn't have the right colors to do that.
And Jace actually, he's going to use it to unsummon the Avacyn. And now that sort of play, that's a role shift for Noah.
And that really punished Lucas for cracking that clue. It's not clear what he was digging to. I suppose he could have brought in Negate, but there's only 1 copy in his sideboard. So he can't just recast the Avacyn because he did that.
His hand is just swelling up with cards here. You see he's got Jace, Spell Queller, Avacyn, another Spell Queller, Rebuff, Stasis Snare, Scatter to the Winds. This is just too many. It's all 3s and 5s.
The only real 2 spell combination he has here is Stasis Snare plus Revolutionary Rebuff, but neither of those cards are very good right now.
No, he's just going to main phase the Avacyn. I'm a little surprised to see him having kept put in a card like Scatter to the Winds. It's rough on your mana. I'm not sure how much counter spell I want.
Jace, Gideon, Avacyn, these are all good spells to counter. Specifically, the Planeswalkers are the big incentive to have Scatter.
Right. And now Noah, when he saw Lucas tap out for that Avacyn, is just going to make him pay for it. The Reflector Mage puts Avacyn back into Lucas's hand. The Fragmentize gets the Spell Queller, gets the Selfless Spirit back. Lucas gets hit down to 10. Jace pluses to draw a card. I don't think Noah's going to let go now. And Lucas hits land 6, but it's another basic Plains, which means he's still on 1 blue.
And now he can cast Stasis Snare and Spell Queller in the same turn cycle, but he's very far behind.
Yeah, and he's not attacking the Jace, so Noah just gets to keep plussing it every turn if he wants.
Yeah, he just has 2 attacks that would not get through.
Yeah, and there's nowhere in sight. It's not. Lucas is so far from being able to pressure the Jace. Right. For him to get the Jace, he'd have to resolve this Avacyn, which seems less and less likely with every card Noah draws. And then he'd have to somehow get an attack in at Jace for multiple turns. That's a lot.
Keep in mind that Noah's very far ahead without the Jace.
Right. Lucas goes for an end-step Avacyn, and you see Noah with 8 lands up just lets it resolve. Back to Lucas, draws Smuggler's Copter. Lots of cards still in both players' hands. Avacyn will hit Jace down to 1. Noah says fine. I guess Noah does need a way through the Avacyn. If there's a possibility that Noah has no Reflector Mages, no removal, maybe this Avacyn stabilizes for him.
It's within the realm of possibility.
Lucas plays a Copter. So go back to Noah's turn with 8 mana. He'll start by scrying with the Jace. He keeps the card on top and draws it. That makes me think it's going to be an answer to this Archangel. And it's going to be a Smuggler's Copter.
Crewing Smuggler's Copter with Always Watching can just trade
That's
with
pretty
Avacyn. Yeah.
And it looks like we might see Reflector Mage as well. Or Stasis Snare. He's got both.
Jeez.
Stasis Snare. That's the choice. Will Lucas try to Spell Queller? He will. That's going to work. And Reflector Mage from Noah Walker puts the Queller back in Lucas's hand, plays the Stasis Snare, gets Archangel Avacyn. And he's got to be careful. There is a Smuggler's Copter on Lucas's side, so he'll swing the old Reflector Mage and the Selfless Spirit. That's a swing for 6. And Lucas will offer a trade. It looks like Smuggler's Copter going to jump in front of Selfless Spirit. Trigger a Fragmentize, actually, in Lucas's, which Lucas picked up there. That's going to be great. There was that Stasis Snare on the table.
Yeah, that Avacyn is really what Lucas has going on, so getting that back is significant. Still no way to punch through and hit the Jace just yet, though.
Yeah, not yet. And he is getting down to a life total where he's got to watch out about just an alpha swing being lethal. He's down to 7. But draws another island, so gets up to 7 mana, and importantly, his second blue source. So he can Fragmentize double spell. You see 3 creatures and a Smuggler's Copter for Noah Walker. Lucas will start the turn by Fragmentizing that Avacyn back into play. You see his hands 2 more Stasis Snares and a Spell Queller. So he will just pass. Noah only draws to 2 cards in hand. This Jace will put him up to 3. Lucas actually has 5 cards here, so
yeah, he has
hold on for a second. Yeah,
he has a lot of cards in hand, though. Noah's battlefield is significant across the board, whereas Lucas has Archangel Avacyn and 2 blanks.
So Smuggler's Copter attacks. Now Lucas actually let Noah loot before he went for Stasis Snare here, which I think is just a slight misstep. Leaves up that Scatter to the Winds mana. Stasis Snare works. Smuggler's Copter is gone. Here's another Copter. Will Lucas respond? He's got Scatter and Spell Queller. He's got to worry about what Noah might resolve if he goes for one of them. And he's not going to.
Noah, plenty of mana to have Avacyn, Gideon.
I mean, I agree. I'm interested because if Lucas doesn't, I think he's just going to have to make that risk on one of these counter spells at some point. He'll swing with Avacyn, and Noah's going to try to block. He'll activate Smuggler's Copter. Another Stasis Snare by Lucas. Archangel Avacyn in response. And Lucas has Spell Shrivel up. That is strong. He's going to get to shrivel the Avacyn. He got to turn that one into a real counter spell, and that's big.
Yep. Gets to chip in here.
And Jace is down.
Nice.
Lucas is overpowering him. So we're back to Noah Walker, one card in hand. And if Noah doesn't do something strong here, Lucas will have recovered because he's got counter spells in hand. Okay,
Ooh.
That's a huge quarantine field. All right, something strong. Yeah, how about this? That works.
Then Lucas is going to be back down to just a Thraben Inspector after this.
Right, so for 10 mana, this is X. Oh, God, this is X equals 4. So he takes all of Lucas's things. I said his last card had to be good. All right, it was. It was real good. And this is just near lethal. Lucas goes to chump blocks and goes to 2.
And Lucas does not have quarantine fields in his 75.
No, both his Fragmentizes have already been cast. Yeah, that is a mythic rare right there.
That is.
And, Jace will scry to the bottom. Draw. Is that another Fragmentize? No, we're on to game 3. And a game where Noah stuck the early always watching was actually a lot tougher than the game 1 there.
Yes. Realistically, though, if Lucas were just making allies with his Gideon, that game probably would not have lasted terribly long.
Sure. I mean, in that one, we saw Noah get the early always watching, and he really had to fight. If that last card was not as big of a haymaker as Quarantine Field, Noah might lose the game there. If Lucas were able to untap with counter spells up.
And Lucas had a bunch of stasis snares. He was able to keep the Copters at bay, the Avacyns at bay, with the Spell Shrivel was clutch against Noah's Avacyn there. And just Avacyn was bigger than what Noah was able to keep on the battlefield, and that was what made the game last as long as it did, but the Quarantine Field was the ultimate breaker.
What a Quarantine. I think that may be the biggest I've seen that card be cast for this season.
Not much of a Commander player, are you?
No. I suppose it gets really, really big in Commander. Why are we playing lots of white cards in Commander?
It was the first thing that came to the top of my head. I have no idea what
people do in Commander. It does have X. If it has X twice on the same card, then it's probably okay in Commander.
Volcanic Geyser. Probably not a big Commander
That's
card.
red X, isn't it? That's
You
not
might
red
be
X.
right.
That's red. No, not. Yeah.
There's a card like that. I messed
Meteor
up.
Shower.
Yeah,
Ice Age.
that
there
one.
You go.
That one.
That one's real bad.
Yeah, it is.
It's I think it's like red XX, and you can divide it however you want.
It's not exactly Bonfire of the Damned.
It's a lot of mana. I used to still play it when I was a kid. I thought it was really neat.
Cool art.
All right. So StarSteams.com Creature Collection, has changed once again for the month. This month is the Mole Warden. So we have that one on our jackets. This, of course, is the parody of Soul Warden. Now, you may have seen the Game Night pins and tokens. Those are the 2/1 enchantment Heliod creatures. But it's also just a Soul Warden, which means it's pretty excellent. So you can get it on your playmats, sleeves, and player bundles. Those are on sale now in the store. They're illustrated by SCG's own Andrea Radek, the artist for all of our Creature Collection products. Find this and more of her great arts on StarCityGames.com/Creature Collection.
There we go.
Yeah.
That was the card I was thinking of.
Oh, it's X+1. You even get a bonus 1.
Wow.
So that means, wait, for 3 mana, it's Chandra's Pyrohelix. I guess that's pretty bad
If
still.
you cast it for 3 mana, it's like the same as casting.
For 5, it's Arc Lightning.
It's like the same as casting Blaze for 2. You can split it.
You can't. Wait, you can't cast Blaze. No, it's Fireball that does that.
Well, Fireball can't split split, right? 'Cause
No, it has to split
for,
evenly.
For 3 mana, it does a half a damage, and it
Oh,
rounds
yeah,
down.
yeah, it rounds down. For 3 mana, you don't want to fireball 2 things. That's bad.
Yeah, I recommend against it.
Blaze is just red X.
You know,
Blaze is the simple one.
If you had Furnace or Wrath, I don't think that applies. I think it's rounded down and then multiplied by 2. So
I think it's still 0 times 2. Yeah.
0 times 2 is not a high number.
No. No, you don't want to double zeros. That's I mean, you can.
The multiplication table for 0 is not very
You're
exciting.
good at that one?
Yeah, I was super good. What is 7 times 0?
Ooh,
Is it 0?
I got this.
I got 0.
Keeps from both players. Lucas starts out on the play. We are underway game number 3. Players trade tap lands. So far, both games have really been dictated by a turn 3 always watching.
Yes.
And Lucas turn 2 Smuggler's Copter. Go back over to Noah Walker. Now, post-board, Noah has 2 always watchings to Lucas's 1. As he matches vehicles with Lucas. Will the enchantment show up? It will not to Selfless Spirit, but Selfless Spirit will crew a Smuggler's Copter. Draws into Spell Shrivel.
And post sideboard, Noah does have 2 always watching to Lucas's 1. Lucas has demonstrated, oh, actually, no, he didn't cast the Revolutionary Rebuff, so we know that he added in post sideboard in game 2, though not necessarily the case that Noah knows. But Lucas has tapped out of that anyway for this turn cycle.
Lucas discards Jace. The things he's left himself with are Spell Shrivel, Stasis Snare, Avacyn, and another land. Noah on his turn, Thraben Inspector, crews Smuggler's Copter, loots. I like how Noah has sequenced this turn. It's disguising whether or not he had the land drop initially. He deals 3, plays another tap land, and says go. Discarded Spell Queller, actually. Back on Lucas's side, Jace just insists on the point. He draws another.
Yeah, Spell Queller does combat very well against Selfless Spirit, but it does combat very poorly against Smuggler's Copter. So it's not looking like the best card in this game state.
Lucas will discard Reflector Mage, play Plains, and say go. Actually been interested in this matchup. Reflector Mage, not as good as I would have thought it would be in this mirror match. Normally these white mirrors, Reflector Mage is so good. But between, Smuggler's Copter, it's not particularly good against.
Copter, Gideon, Avacyn.
Yeah.
Many of the best cards in the matchup are kind of Reflector Mage proof.
We've seen each player use it on Spell Quellers on a pivotal turn, which is fine, but not amazing. So Noah Walker went to crew his Smuggler's Copter, and now Lucas tries to Stasis Snare. Noah will negate and then attack. Discarding another Copter. But by negating there, he's left down his counter spells, and more importantly, he missed land drop 4. And if Lucas can hit land 5, he doesn't have it yet, but if he does, it's huge. Smuggler's Copter swings. Here's a loot. And there is land 5 for Lucas.
And Lucas has just a handful of 5-mana spells.
Yeah, he has an Avacyn and a Jace, both at the ready. So he's discarding Spell Shrivel. He's just planning to tap out now. Plays land 5, says go. So Avacyn is going to be the end step play.
Possibly even just during combat.
Why not? You go back to Noah Walker. Now, do you think Lucas would have wanted to main phase that while Noah's counter spells were down?
Well, he'll have to main phase the Jace anyway, and the Jace probably matters more than the Avacyn currently. At least that seems to be the thought process for Lucas here.
Sure.
He'll cast Avacyn on Noah's turn, and then on his turn he'll be able to cast the Jace, plus it immediately, and start generating card advantage.
So Noah swung Smuggler's Copter, discarded Spell Queller. Lucas went for the Avacyn, but it was revolutionarily rebuffed. So both players at 11. We go back to Lucas, but now he gets to resolve Jace. He draws Linvala.
So good.
Maybe there's a better play now.
Yeah.
Smuggler's Copter will crew and swing. The loot finds another Avacyn. I think we have another Avacyn.
His hand's really good. I would just discard Scatter to the Winds. He has so much good proactive stuff.
Yeah, we're not leaving up mana for this game. I mean, you could discard Jace on this board. I'm not sure how much Jace is going to do. I don't know. I agree. Let's get rid of the counterspell. Let's just mash high-end things. But Lucas discards Linvala. I suppose it's unlikely he'll get the life or the or the creature off it.
Yeah, he won't be able to trigger the Linvala. I suppose once he finds the window to get ahead, and it seems to be that it'll only take 1 or 2 of these 5-mana spells to do that, suddenly the scatter just closes the game entirely.
Yeah, and you see that's actually what he wants to be doing. So he played Jace post-combat. He scryed an island to the bottom. Then he drew a Prairie Stream, and instead of playing it, he just kept it in his hand for Smuggler's Copter fodder.
Smuggler's Copter fodder, or if he drew another 3-mana spell, he could cast it later. He's not going to need 7 mana in 1 turn with the stuff he has.
I was wondering if he was trying to save up maybe enough mana for spell plus scatter, but I don't think that's where he's going right now. So, but Noah's going to try to race back. He starts with Reflector Mage, and then Cruise Smuggler's Copter and swings. This is, we'll see if it's at Jace or at Lucas. It is at Lucas, so 7 points now down to Lucas because the Mage was used to crew the Copter.
Yeah, and Lucas did scry to the bottom when he plus the Jace, so Noah's saying, I really hope that your hand is weak, and you need to draw something with this Jace to try to close the game out.
And I actually want to say there is some punishment here for Lucas for not playing that land last turn. He drew a Gideon. He could have drawn a Gideon off that Jace, and if he had, he could have played land 7, played Gideon, and left up Scatter. It's a pretty good turn.
True.
Not going to have that option now. You see, he actually scried the Gideon to the bottom. And it looks like he's just going to cast Avacyn.
Yeah, Noah's potential counter mana is down.
Sure, it does leave him weak to Reflector Mage, but he's going to go for that. And he can always crew. That Copter's still left around. And Noah is going to have to keep attacking. Jace still looming big on the board for Lucas Kiefer.
Noah still on 4 mana. A lot of the game-breaking plays on this turn involve casting 2 3-mana spells. So he's really not open to anything that could potentially end the game this turn.
Right. The fact that Lucas will untap with 7 lands is going to let him bully Noah very hard from here. So we'll see what the play is. He's going to go for another Reflector Mage. I feel like he almost has to. Now Lucas is going to heads up, is going to crew in response. Noah's going to crew and swing everything. And I like this play from Noah Walker quite a bit. Willing to throw away a creature. And you see Lucas actually just trades Smuggler's Copters.
Yeah, the Copter just matters the most. Lucas is on 7. If he takes that 3 alone, that would knock him to 4. Either other creature makes the Copter lethal in the following turn.
Noah discarded an Avacyn. Lucas loots on his own, draws an island, discards island. They trade. Kiefer's down to 4. 3 creatures to 0 for Noah Walker. Lucas draws. It's another land. He's got Avacyn and Selfless Spirit in hand. And you just can't unsummon anything with this Jace yet. I mean, I guess you could unsummon Thraben Inspector.
It's kind of funny how different every game has kind of played out.
Yeah.
Game 1 and 2 were both largely about always watching. In this game, we saw Noah Walker discard 1 with the Smuggler's Copter, and we just saw Lucas Kiefer scribe 1 to the bottom.
8 cards in hand here for Lucas.
Please make your way up to side event registration. Again, this is a last call to sign up for today's
Plays land 7.
4 p.m.
Avacyn, Scatter, Selfless Spirit. Smuggler's Copter. That one's not doing as much work right now. He's at 4, though.
And now that he's cleared Noah's Smuggler's Copter, his engages in combat a bit better. It would eat any of either both Reflector Mages or the Thraben Inspector if he's able to get that in combat.
He will play Selfless Spirit. Fine card, not a good blocker on this board, though. These 2/3s are just getting in the way.
Right. Best it can do here is trade with Thraben Inspector, which never feels good.
Yeah, he's going to pass.
So he's sitting on Avacyn here.
And it can't even trade, right? Because then he'll die.
Right. The line he's taking, he's banking heavy on Avacyn entering the battlefield, resolving, and not getting hit by a stasis snare.
All right, so he's going to cast Avacyn. That taps him out. Resolves, trigger resolves. Does Noah have a stasis snare? Or another reflector mage. There's a lot that could go wrong for Lucas here.
And he cast it on upkeep to get around a potential counter spell.
So
But
I do want to ask something. Here's the stasis snare from Noah. If this Lucas will jump in front of Reflector Mage, if this was the line he wanted, Lucas could have done that all in his turn and attempted to flip the Avacyn.
right. If
He just
Noah,
loses to Stasis Snare.
Yeah, if Noah already had Stasis Snare, I mean, this line's very bad against Stasis Snare one way or the other, though.
It's like if I want to lose to Stasis Snare, then I want to win if he doesn't have it. And
Right.
the other line does that.
Right.
Lucas went to 1 on the attack. Now, I guess if Lucas can win through the Stasis Snare, then my apologies, and he's done this really well. I am uncertain that he's going to be able to win through this.
He's got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, Thraben Inspector makes a clue. His hand is Smuggler's Copter, Scatter to the Winds, 2 lands. That isn't going to keep him alive unless he unsummons Thraben Inspector. Not really into that. Well, maybe. He could play Smuggler's Copter, I guess, and unsummon the Inspector. It's kind of gross, but it would work.
Get out if he plays the Copter, he could just unsummon Reflector Mage, right?
Well, then Noah will recast it.
Well, then he would just
Crew with whatever's
with
targeted.
whatever, right? It might send him off tempo too much on the following turn, but it's good for 1 turn cycle.
Well, he can unsummon something and then just scatter with Awaken it on the way back down. He has 7 mana right now.
True.
I think that's the line that Lucas is choosing. Unsummons Reflector Mage. Yeah, and if he just passes here without Copter, that's definitely his line. So he's hoping to awaken this counter spell when Noah goes to cast the Reflector Mage. Or really when Noah casts anything.
If Noah has Revolutionary, Rebuff, or Negate, that would break that open.
Do you think Lucas doesn't want to go for he should just not awaken to play around it?
He doesn't really have anything else going on. He might just have to awaken.
If he wasn't going to awaken, he should have played Copter. It would have been free. He has 7.
Yeah, he's committed a lot of material to awakening here.
And Noah pre-combat's going to go ahead and swing. We'll see if it's at 1 or is it both. Just Reflector Mage. I think Lucas is going to have to double block.
Yeah, you can't just jump block here.
That's what he'll do. So trade Selfless Spirit with the Reflector Mage. He's still alive. Noah says go. Oh, just has it. He has the read. Card drawn from Lucas on end step. Draws Negate. So Lucas might have the read, or Noah might have the read, but Lucas has the mana. And if Lucas's draws pan out well enough for him, it's not going to matter.
Yeah, he still has the Jace hanging out. The Thraben Inspectors will check each other.
Jace +1, Revolutionary Rebuff. That's so big.
Yeah, Noah's been stuck on land. You know, he still only has 5 lands in play. This rebuff is significant.
If I'm Lucas, I think that what Noah's going to try to do is end step a Spell Queller to kill me.
Yeah, he's certainly representing that.
And Rebuff looks great. 2 mana for Copter, 2 mana for Rebuff, only leaves 5 mana for Scatter, so it will take away that Awaken.
He's 1 mana shy of Awaken and leaving up both counter spells, yeah.
Smuggler's Copter is the play, Spell Queller is the play from Noah, Revolutionary Rebuff back from Lucas. Well, all right then. And this Jace, a card that I wasn't sure when he kept it in his hand, if it was right, is doing a lot of work for Lucas Kiefer. And remember, Noah's at 8. If Lucas can turn the corner, it's going to turn quick.
Yeah, and Lucas held on to that Scatter. Now he has Scatter plus Negate back up with his 5 mana.
So Reflector Mage from Noah. Lucas says no. He Scatter to the Winds it. Rebuff is in Noah's hand too.
It's doing way less on Noah's side, though.
Magic player.
Thraben Inspector, the draw from Lucas. That's going to play really well.
Again, Magic playing team. Russell.
And is Lucas, he's going to unsummon Noah's Thraben Inspector. All right. Crew, Smuggler's Copter, swing for 3. Why the unsummon there?
Well, he's at 1.
Well, if he has his own Thraben Inspector, he could... I think he missed a point of damage here is where I'm going with this.
Right.
He could have crewed with the new guy. Anyway, he'll play post-combat another Thraben Inspector, get a clue. Pass the turn. And you know, he's got Scatter with Awaken up. He's got another unsummon ready with this Jace. He's got 5 damage on the table. Lucas may have done this.
Yeah, it's looking very promising.
Gideon from Noah Walker, that's going to get a Scatter for sure. Is he going to Awaken it? We'll see. He's going to draw a card off the clue. Then he's going to negate, leaving up Scatter. He's just covering all his bases. He has a hard counter spell up. Here's Thraben Inspector from Noah Walker. Lucas will untap and take his turn. And that's a creature. That should do it. Noah's at 5.
Yep.
Lucas,
get that Inspector out of here. Play your Avacyn, crew your Copter. Attack for 5.
Lucas has to see it, but he's got a lethal here. Yeah, unsummon the Thraben Inspector. There we go. Cast Avacyn. That's a creature. Trigger. Crew Copter. Swing for 5, and Lucas Kiefer does it. Stabilizing at 1 there. He fights his way back, and he is the winner in the blue-white Flash Mirror over teammate Noah Walker.
This looks like a really difficult mirror match to navigate.
Wow. And Lucas just holding on there. That early Jace just does it for him.